As I stated before in the previous video talking about Blam, I am not someone who's very much into the sci-fi genre, or at least I don't particularly like settings in which the environment is heavily futuristic to the point that some structures are literally just metal cubes. I don't know how to exactly describe what I'm saying, but hopefully you get the point. I think also the lingo that some stories use to describe a specific item or explain the mechanisms of it is sometimes all nonsense, where the only one who would theoretically understand the explanations are scientists, and even then a lot of the dialogue is just made up for the sake of creating an actual reason. Not to say these types of genre are terrible, I just personally don't gel with this particular aesthetic as much. That's why with the manga that I had today got me really confused. Like, I understand the general plot and structure of the story, but in terms of everything else, it got really convoluted, especially during the last few chapters with its conclusion. But before getting to the main crux of the story, I'll just say that this manga, which is Origin by the way, this manga has some of the best looking art I have ever seen. It's by the same person that did Dr. Stone, and I like the manga for Dr. Stone, but the art there is usually very simple and has a very lighthearted one, not very as much detail as this one. With Dr. Stone, I guess it is to fit into the atmosphere of the manga, but I never really expected for the Origins art to go as incredible as it did. Like, whenever there is a super detailed artwork of the characters, which happens in literally every chapter, I can't help but stare at it for a solid minute or two, just because of how amazed I was at the art, and especially doing it consistently across the entire manga. Say what you will about the story of the Origin, but this manga has some of the most detailed artwork out there. You gotta agree with me on that at least. I guess with Dr. Stone, he wasn't really the one who was the creator of the story, mostly the artist. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he just did the art of the manga, so I guess that's somewhat of a reason why Dr. Stone looks much more tame compared to Origin, because I couldn't imagine, well, technically I would imagine Dr. Stone having the same level of detail, since you get some scenes in the manga of Dr. Stone where the artist really gave it his all. But for the purpose of a much more lighthearted manga, I think you really had to make it less detailed, I guess, even though the art of Dr. Stone is still great. And I haven't read Sunken Rock, but if it's by the same artist, it's probably going to be great as well. Enough praising the art, let's get on with Origin story. Let me preface this first. I like the story. I think it's somewhat fulfilled the goal or the purpose of the story. It just got me really confused at the end. And in terms of, like, I guess the power system, I know they are all highly intelligent robots, but with the main power system at play here is that how intelligent a robot can be and who is the most mechanically efficient, I guess. Just basically who has the better upgrades. Okay, this starts off with a robot named Origin. He is a highly intelligent humanoid robot, and we get to see during the flashback scenes that the one who created him gave this robot a purpose, like in any old robot movie. Giving a robot a purpose, I guess. That is to lead a proper life. He obviously relayed that information as literal as possible, not fully understanding the extent of what those words mean. I never really took liking into any particular character, because there aren't that many established characters since this is relatively a short manga. But I guess except probably the main character Jin himself, that is Origin's disguised human name, because he can definitely emphasize with the situation and mindset he is in. With so many people out there in the real world that are unable to lead a proper life due to certain circumstances that they are unable to change, whether that be financially or physically. And we see that sometimes happen in manga where Jin struggles to earn money, albeit it showcases the moments comedically, since that's not the whole point of the story. It just shows how difficult it is to truly live. I mean, the real reason he needs money is so he can pay for the resources and materials needed for a fully functional humanoid intelligent robot. But that issue gets resolved quickly, since, like I said before, this is just a short manga with a little over 8 or so chapters, and the money thing is only relevant in the story so he can converse with other characters, or at least that's how I see it. Speaking of it being only 80 or so chapters, the pacing felt a little bit too fast for me personally. Some people might disagree. I haven't exactly read or watched any discussions regarding this manga, so I don't have an exact idea how people perceive the story of this manga yet, but hopefully it's positive to some extent, because I only ever continued reading the manga due to its art, and I'm just trying to be honest here. Like, if the art wasn't as good as it is, I would probably drop the manga or give Origin a lesser score. I think the reason for that is right at the tail end of the manga, where we get to confront the final villain. Right up to this point, I was still thoroughly engaged with the story. While not many characters were developed, I think each one of them served some kind of purpose in teaching Origin, in furthering his understanding of being alive. So it was fine for the most part, but I think there were some characters that got completely turned on its head, having to no reason or explanation why it happens, which made them much more confusing to really fully grasp. With the fight scenes, they are obviously greatly well done, especially with how creative you can be in making robotic characters having specific mechanical attributes that made them more unique, allowing each scene to feel really thrilling to read and spectate, making these fights much more clever. But unfortunately, just like with the characters, the power system just gets completely turned upside down. From starting with very mechanically created robots with using machines and tools, and seeing which machine had the much more efficient system in order to win. You know, very sci-fi. But then suddenly, this is where I got really confused. Like, during the final fight scenes, they just get randomly having supernatural powers. It's kind of like Almighty Push from Naruto. And this is where I was like, huh? At this point, I was reading it just to finish it. The art may look fantastic, one of the best I've ever seen, but I was even lost in what was going on with the dialogue. Brand new revelations just all abruptly appeared with no reasoning whatsoever. So the ending of the manga wasn't really satisfying, as it felt like it thrown away everything that the manga was building up to. And we also see that based on how rushed the final chapters felt, that made a lot of the previous information redundant. Despite this, I would still highly recommend the manga to anyone, just from the art alone, of course. You can still have a very enjoyable time with it. Not more words can be said, just try and enjoy the manga for what it is. Try not to nitpick specific details that might ruin the experience. Every manga has their ups and downs, but it's up to you whether you like them or not. Origin as a manga or as a whole is something that I might not forget thanks to its great artwork. For the most part, the writing was on point, as it truly showcased the inner workings of how a robotic human can think. And we see that with Jin during his fights or dialogue. We get to see the inner dialogue being much more logical in contrast to humans, which can get emotional. That's my final point on why I still like this beautiful yet confusing manga. As always, please like and subscribe. I've been really surprised by the comments with their own recommendations. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.